Hi there, this is Nick Bowcott with Sweetwater, and today we're looking at the Dracarys Distortion pedal from the fine folk of Wampler. Now, that's a weird name. Where did it come from? Well, for the millions of you out there who love Game of Thrones, you know the origin. It's the High Valyrian word for dragon breath. And that's actually pretty apt for this pedal because, as you're about to hear, it literally does breathe fire into any clean amp. And by the way, if you are a big Game of Thrones fan, if I've mispronounced those words, I apologize. Please don't flame me, just make fun of my playing, okay? Now, for some distortion pedals, they really work best when they're pushing an amp that's on the gritty edge of the cliff of distortion right over the edge. But as you're about to hear, the Dracarys does it from a totally clean stance. So it literally is a fire breather. Let's hear the amp which I'm using, which is a wonderful amp by itself. I've got it set to neutral. It's the Friedman Runt 50 combo. I'm using the clean channel. I've got the clean setting so it's totally clean. And I've put the 3 tone controls, bass, middle, and treble at 12 o'clock, and the presence also at 12 o'clock. So it's a fairly neutral sound. To prove my point, let's switch the pedal off and hear what it sounds like. So this is the sound of the Friedman. Like I said, pretty neutral. Now let's breathe some fire into this bad boy. You ready? Like I said, a very, very aptly named pedal. Oh, by the way, the only other thing in the signal chain apart from guitar, cable to pedal, cable to amp, and my meager talent is an MXR Smart Gate. And the reason I've got that in is very simple. This, as you've just heard, is really, really high gain. So the MXR is there for the beautiful sound of silence. Nothing to do with that great Disturbed cover, but it is the sound of silence, and sometimes that's really cool, especially when you're going zhunk, 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 zhunk. As you're about to discover, I'm about to play more left-handed guitars than you'll see in most guitar stores. I'm not doing this to impress upon you how big my collection is, because my wife hates me for it. But ignoring that, I'm doing it because I want you to hear this pedal with different guitars, with different scale lengths, different tunings, and different pickups. Hot passive, medium passive, and also active. That way you'll hear just how versatile this pedal is, because this is not a one-trick pony. It's a tool chest of great tone. The intro you've just heard, I used this Tony Iommi. I used the bridge pickup. I've got this tuned down to C sharp, and then I've dropped the low string down a tone, so it's drop D down 1.5 steps, which means the low string is B, just to give you that girth. But that's still not low enough, so we'll finish at the very end with a 7 string, because that's what this pedal was designed for. But before we hear more tones, let me tell you a little about this pedal. The man behind not only this pedal, but all the great Wampler pedals, his name is Brian, wait for it, Wampler. And a lot of people know him as the guy who puts amps in a box, and he does it really well, as proven by great pedals like the Plexi Drive, the Almost 30, and the wonderfully named Triple Rec, with Rec being spelled W-R-E-C-K. And he's done it again with this one. The thing that makes this pedal different, though, is he didn't use an amp as his inspiration. He was actually inspired by what he calls his closet romance, tonally only, of course, with a really cool Swedish guitar player who's a good friend of mine. His name is Ola England. He's really tall. He's also a great guitar player, and more importantly, arguably, he's a great guy. He kind of plays melodic, groovy, thrash, death metal, and he does it with panache. And Brian has admitted on camera, with hearts and stuff, that he loves a lot of what Ola's done. So Ola was his inspiration. It's not a signature pedal per se, but Ola is the spark behind this creative genius. And I think it is genius, because as you've heard, it's really, really good. So he started with a blank slate, or I should say blank circuit board. And his goal, in his own words, was to make a modern high-gain distortion pedal. So it was articulate with a lot of gain, but also a lot of depth. If you will, articulate aggression with girth. He wanted it for the chugga player, or as another Swedish actor who are probably friends with, Ola would say, they're of course Meshuggah, junk, or zhenk gent, or I think it's called gent, Jdent, it's spelled Gent, it's just gent as opposed to shug or junk. Whatever you call it, this pedal is perfect for the junk or gent or chugga player. So that's how he designed it. One of the cool things about Brian is, by his own admission, he's a guitarist who learned electronics, not vice versa. And I think that's really important because you can't see sound. You can't get Kill 'Em All by Metallica, put it into an oscilloscope and go, that's it, that's a Hetfield tone. You have to hear and feel it, not see it. It's not a waveform. So that's how he approaches it, and that's why this pedal not only sounds good, more importantly, it feels good, because feel is essential. So let's go through the features of the pedal, shall we? As already mentioned, the whole goal here was to make a chugga contemporary high-gain pedal with articulation, definition, if you will, and lots of depth. So the controls, a gain control, which goes from mild to heavy to extremely heavy to ridiculously heavy. Then there are 3 active tone controls, bass, middle, and treble. The bass is centered around 100 hertz. The mids, which have a wide Q, are around 750, and the highs are about 5.5 kilohertz. And combined, the result is magic. The other thing cool about this pedal is this. Number 1, made in America, folks. Buy American. This is not one that says designed in America, made in Timbuktu. This is designed and made in America, so support your local workers. And even if you're abroad, support American workers. Number 2, true bypass. That's important. It means when the pedal's off, it's not coloring the sound in any way, shape, or form. It also has a soft switch, and then it has this really cool open and tight switch in the middle here. This is op-amp based, and what open does is it has minimum compression and maximum tone. Then when you hit it to tight, the volume drops a bit because it's compressing the op-amps more. But what it does is it emulates the sound of a tube amp being driven to the max, like to 11. So it starts having that nice sag, that nice compression, but it doesn't get flubby or that kind of thing. Got me? Anyway, as I've said, this is a very versatile pedal. You've just heard some extreme metal rhythm setting. Now I'm going to change the setting and we'll go to something that's more lead orientated. And I'm going to change guitars as well because I feel like it. As you can see, I've miraculously changed guitars thanks to the magic of editing. I'm using an ESP Kirk Hammett KH2 with EMG pickups because I wanted you to hear it with active pickups. This is tuned to regular A440. And as you can see, I've done some subtle, or not so subtle, changes to the pedal. I've left it on tight, I've increased the mids, I've lowered the highs, and I've cranked the gain to max. And then let's see what it sounds like, shall we? As you heard, that last note went into the right harmonic feedback. That tells you how good this pedal is, because remember, the amp is totally clean. So that was induced purely by this bad boy here. Now, talking of the pedal, something else that it comes with that's really cool is this. It comes with one of these, a cool little string-drawn bag. Why is that cool? It means you can put this in your gig bag and not risk beating it up. I love this. It's a small but important feature, and just in case you forget who makes your pedal, look, Wampler. Now, the reason I love this is for years, I've used these for my pedals. Crown Royal bags. Where did I get them from? This guy here. That was one of his favorite drinks, and he'd give me the bags because he knew I liked to put my pedals in it. In fact, I kept a digital camera in this for years instead of the proper case, and people would go, why are you doing that? You've got a proper case. Why are you using a Crown Royal bag? I said, because I'm always losing things, but this bag is so important to me because of who gave it to me. I won't forget the bag, but I might lose the camera, so the bag will help me never lose the camera, and as a result, I never lost the camera. So thank you, Dime. Anyway, back to sounds. Let's change to something a little bit more 80s traditional metal. So I'll do a change and then we'll get some more playing. Once again, through the miracle of digital editing, I've changed the pedal. As you can see, the switch is now up, so it's in open, so it's less compressed. I've also put more mids in, a little bit more treble, backed off the gain. This is like an 80s hard rock metal sound, inspired by another ESP player that uses a kamikaze guitar. Don't sue me, George. It's close, but not that close. Okay, time for another guitar change, so hang in there. And now we're gonna soothe the savage beast. Check it out. Okay, I've switched to a slash signature Epiphone. It's tuned to E flat. It's got not overly hot passive pickups in it. And as you can see, once again, I've done some changes to the Dracarys. I've boosted the mids. I've switched it back down to tight. I've cranked the gain. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play on the rhythm pickup with the tone rolled off, which is a slash trick. So sorry, Mr. Slash, I stole it. But as you'll hear, like I said, this tames the savage beast. It makes it soulful and smooth. Dare I say, from savage and soulless to smooth and soulful. Here we go. Bad playing, great tone. That was nuts. Those last 20 notes I played with no pick. That was purely sustain developed by this fine fire-breathing unit becoming soulful. Right, let's get on to some Australian brother-based hard rock tone. I'm using the slash still. I've switched to the bridge pickup, and as you can see, I've done some more changes here. I've rolled the gain way off. A lot of high gain distortion pedals, when you roll the gain off, they kind of lose it a bit. This one stays really, really well together, as you're about to hear. So I've rolled the gain off, I've switched it to open, backed the mids off a little bit from where it was last time, and everything else is as you can see. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to leave the pedal on and I'm going to roll the volume of the guitar off so you can see how well this responds to volume control. You ready? Right, as mentioned, Brian made this for the Chugga Chugga player and specifically for the 7 and 8 string player as well. The articulation and definition this has on very low notes, as you hear in this, is staggering. And also, when I'm playing a big fat chord, the fact you can still hear each string individually and articulately is very, very important because that makes you cut through the mix. So, thanks for listening. To bid you adieu, I'm going to finish with a 7 string. It's tuned to B, but I've dropped the low string down to A, so it really is lower than whale droppings. So if you want to breathe fire into your sound, into your clean amp, into your tone, the Wampler Dracarys is a pedal for you because it is a fire breather. For more information, please go to sweetwater.com and punch in the name of the pedal, or better still, call your sales engineer and he or she will help you breathe fire. See ya!